Is interesting. My goodness, I am so glad to know. Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of BatTalks. I am your host, Sinclair Shibby Shibs the Third, House of Shibs, Father of Shibbies, Prince of Shibbyland, and King of Shibs. Dude, you're not on Game of Thrones. You do know that, right? What are you talking about? And were you just reading that book upside down? Do you even know how to read? Uh, no, I don't know how to read. You're still here, aren't you? Um, Forget it. You go on and do your show. I'm getting out of here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bat Talks, and I am your host, Shibby Shibs. Tonight, we will be talking about Batman's sidekick, Robin. Which one is our favorite and why? Also, Makeupmommy77 and I be tasting comic pops. And my guests tonight are Aussie Nerd, Jaded Nerd, and Makeupmommy77. So our first video will be featuring Aussie Nerd.
Hey guys! I'm the Aussie Nerd. Uncreative name, I know. Still, because I've been invited by BatTalks. Maybe names are just uncreative in this channel. Oh well, he asked me to talk about my favourite Robin. Probably because my room looks like this. I really should tidy up. Anyway, it must be said that out of the many questions you could ask about Batman, picking a Robin is very personal. You have brass, you have intelligence, you have charm, you have murderous tendencies, large variety. So I'm going to pick two. The first is from the 1960s television show Batman. This Robin is played by Burt Ward, and is a version of Dick Grayson from the Silver Age, when censorship was nonsense. The comic censors made things like blood and killing bad. You can't do that at all. So people had to get creative. And it was ridiculously censored. So Batman ended up being stupid and campy and hilarious. And then the show went for it. ABC made the show campy and ridiculous, and I love it. Its stupidity is its intelligence, and Burt Ward as Dick Grayson, as Robin, played it so well. I have to give my respect to this show for what it did for Batman, and to Burt Ward for what he did with Robin. The dynamic duo, Adam West and Burt Ward, Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne, Batman and Robin. Impossible to replicate, but impossible also to forget. But after comic god Stan Lee saved comics from the censors overlords, they got to be dark again. And as such, time for a reboot. And Batman's reboot came in the form of Frank, I promise I'm not a sexist, racist asshole, Miller. Carrie Kelly is a Robin from the future. She's from the future where Mutant Gang has taken over Gotham City, and Bruce Wayne and Carrie Kelly are both pissed about it. So, what do? Well, while Bruce Wayne is becoming Batman again, Carrie Kelly has decided to take on the mantle as Robin, completely separately to Batman, until they meet up and team up, and then the dynamic duo have found each other and become symbols again. How good. This is based in a timeline where it was Dick Grayson, and that's it. There's no other Robins. Dick Grayson, then Carrie Kelly. Simple, right? And she got the inspiration from Dick Grayson to become Robin. Unlike now, where it's like loads of nonsense happening with Robin. How good. She's tough, she's clever, she's perfect. I absolutely adore this character. While most people only remember Batman and Superman punching each other in the face, I remember Carrie Kelly, who did not have a sequel where she became Catgirl. That didn't happen. Ever. Best ignore that. I've been happy to be on BatTalks. Hope to see you on my channel very soon.
Aussie nerd for a very funny and entertaining video on those two Robins right there. Now on our next video is a very good friend of mine, also fellow YouTuber, Jaded Nerd, on his take on his favorite Robin.
Thanks, BatTalks. I wanted to share my thoughts on Robin. I'm not necessarily the biggest knowledge. I don't know a lot about Robin, but I did a little bit of research. I read about him, and he's actually kind of cool. So this is what I found out. He first appears in Detective Comics number 38 in 1940. So back when, before Batman was Batman, it was what, Detective Comics, and it was these police crime stories. So we first get introduced to Robin in number 38, 1940. So that's when we first are introduced. He's a member of the Flying Graysons. So they were in a traveling circus. They were acrobats, and unfortunately, he witnessed a tragic death of his family, his parents, by a mob boss, and it's very similar to what Batman went through. So you're thinking about Batman, if you know the story. They were leaving the opera. They get approached in an alley. Both parents get killed right in front of him, and it kind of fueled him to become a vigilante, a fighter of crime, and to instill fear into criminals and to punish them. So he meets Grayson, little Robin, Dick Grayson. And it's kind of interesting because he sees parallels within himself. So he sees a young man that went through the exact same thing of having his parents murdered and having to witness that. So that's something very interesting about Batman, from the Detective Comics through the TV series in the 60s to the movies, the Batman animated series. Like, if you think about it, when they do show Robin, and of course they were called the dynamic duo, Caped Crusaders, and you're thinking, well, Batman is so this and he's so that and he's so, badass. Why does he need help? Or, Batman doesn't need anybody. He's a detective. He deduces. He's intelligent. But I think, in my opinion, this is just for me, I think it was important for Batman to have someone like that to identify with. I think it was important because when you witness the death of your family like that, and then you make it your goal to seek justice and to seek, it's a vengeful justice. I think Robin kept a bit of his humanity and a bit of his sanity, because we all know Batman can go to a very dark place. So it was important for him to have someone like Robin in the beginning to mentor, to talk to, just to have around. And again, Robin is a lot more cool than I thought he was. Like, he's a superior acrobat. His martial arts skills actually rival Batman. I did research. I'm like, really? Robin? Little Robin. Now, the costume that you saw on the Batman show back in the 60s, apparently, or even in the Detective Comics, the very first iterations of Robin, like that costume, even though the name Robin is like a bird, but it was actually based off of that Errol Flynn design for Robin Hood. So just a little aesthetic, something, something, something. Was trained by Batman in escapology, criminology, fencing, stealth, disguise. So when you're thinking about somebody that was trained by Batman, of course he would be formidable. He was Robin up until he retired, and he became Nightwing because he kind of wanted to assert his independence. And I'm going to stop right there, and that's the point I want to make. The mentor-mentee dynamic is interesting because there's a time where the mentor sees someone broken or sees someone that needs something, and then they say, okay, you know what, I want to help because I was there, or I see this, I understand this. And then what happens is the mentee develops, and in some cases they develop a resentment because at some point they become independent and they are no longer codependent. Robin was no longer codependent upon Batman, so he decided, I gotta assert my independence. I have to become something. I gotta do something. You have to think, he was trained by Batman. So why wouldn't he have that same desire, or develop that desire to punish him? He had his own revenge. His parents were killed too. So he already had that within him. Plus he was trained. So it would make sense that he would want to assert, or assume rather, an identity of his own to go out and carry out his mission and what he wanted to do. So it's almost like when you think about Batman, and of course he gets all of the attention, everybody loves Batman, but I think Robin is an undersung hero. And I think Robin, you always say, you're going to be Batman to my Robin, but you can't have a Batman without a Robin. You couldn't have Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. It was very interesting reading about Robin. understanding just how implemental he was in what Batman was doing, how important he was, and how having someone like that to keep him human was interesting, and it was genius because we know how dark Batman is. I just want to say thanks, BatTalks, for letting me have this segment and letting me talk, and I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you, Jaded Nerd, for your very informative and entertaining video on your favorite Robin. Now we have Makeupmommy77 on her favorite Robin and why.
Okay, my favorite Robin is Tim Drake. I believe that he is the most charismatic of all the Robins. And fun fact, he is the only Robin that has both of his parents. And that he wants to be Batman's sidekick, and it's not out of necessity because his parents aren't around anymore. He deduced that Batman was Bruce Wayne by seeing both Batman and Robin, Dick Grayson, in action, because he was at the circus that the Graysons performed at. And so he deduced who Batman was very quickly and wanted to be his sidekick. But Batman did not initially want to take him on because he had just lost Jason Todd. And so when he did take on
Well, how
Tim
did
Drake,
Jason Todd die?
Jason Todd died from the Joker. When he went to go find his biological mother, and she had kidnapped him, Jason Todd was killed by the Joker. He was brutally beaten, and then the building was set on fire and exploded. So Batman did not initially want to take on Tim Drake or another Robin because of his loss. And so when he did agree to take on Tim Drake never wore Robin's suit. He became Red Robin instead. That's what I like about him and why. He just brings a lot to the character. But that's all I have to say about it.
Awesome. Well, my favorite Robin is Damian Wayne. Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul's son, grandfather of Ra's al Ghul. The purpose of his creation was to be the perfect successor for the League of Shadows, for when Ra's al Ghul were to step down as the head of the dragon. Made in a lab with DNA from both Talia and Bruce Wayne, he was genetically modified to be the perfect assassin. Well, as a skilled assassin in an event which resulted in his grandfather's death and sent to Batman for protection, and while with his father, he learned discipline and also what true justice is really about. He, in my eyes, is really the true Robin simply because he's Batman's real son. When you see him in animated movies and when you see him in comics and everything, he has that Bruce Wayne mentality of getting things done. Now, when Damian came to Bruce, he was a rebellious little crap where he wanted to do everything on his own. He had the skills, he had swords, and it wasn't really until he joined up into the Teen Titans that he became a real Robin. And with that title and everything, and shortly after Bruce Wayne's death, is when Dick Grayson takes over the mantle of Batman and takes Damian Wayne as Robin under his wing, no pun intended, and he trains him even more disciplined because Dick Grayson was the original Robin. Yes, as Jaded Nerd said, he was the very first Robin, and that is true. But as far as the best Robin, I honestly will have to give that to Damian Wayne. I really love how his fighting style is. He was trained, like I said, from the League of Assassins. Pretty much since he was from birth, trained by not only Talia, not only Ra's al Ghul, but also every member of the League of Shadows had their own little input into him to make the perfect assassin. Reason for that is because Deathstroke was having this army to annihilate the League of Shadows because he wanted them gone. But needless to say, I think Damian Wayne would be the perfect Robin in upcoming features. He does, spoiler alert, he does cease to exist in a later comic strip, and then Batman finds some magical galaxy crap and brings him back to life. No, he does not bring back to life by the Lazarus Pit. By this time, the Lazarus Pit had already been abolished, so that way no more Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, or anyone else can be brought back from the dead by an evil spirit. So, having said that, I want to go ahead and say thank you, everybody.
Wait. We forgot the comic pops.
Oh, yes. Let's go get those comic pops. Ooh. So, tell me about these cake pops, Makeupmommy77.
These comic pops I made on my channel. There is a link to my channel down below. These ones are my Robin pops. They are red velvet on top. I have brown and yellow M&Ms in the middle, and then the bottom is cheesecake.
Ah, and everyone that knows me knows that I love red velvet and I love cheesecake. This is a tasty comic pop. Wow, that's really good.
Really red velvety.
Yeah, and cheesecakey too. This is really helping out my sore throat. I've been having allergy attacks so much that not even my Batman immune system can fight them off. So this is actually really, really helping me out right now. Thank you, Aussie Nerd, Jaded Nerd, and Makeupmommy77 for joining me on my show. Links for their channels will be in the description down below, and I encourage everyone watching this right now to please check out their channels, subscribe, and share them. Also, to be sure to subscribe and share my channel. If you want to be a guest on my show, comment down below. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next week where we'll be talking about Batman's love interest and who we think is the best for Batman.